Have you ever looked at an art piece that immediately took control of how you felt? That it made you want to linger on the visual rhythms of the painting? How do artists create that? I know this is subjective to how art pieces resonates with different people, but I'm pretty sure many of us have this reaction of, wow, this art is amazing, I want to eat it, but not really liking a specific character from a fandom. These images not only resonates, but they are objectively good. I was racking my mind trying to figure out what makes these art stand out. How do I recreate this feeling? And after watching hundreds of artists and videos, there were a few things that stood out. These images are so comfortable to look at, and it goes down to how humans are naturally drawn to patterns and rhythm. It was data collected through countless trial and errors of what worked that developed these invisible guidelines. Yes, these are composition guidelines. They are also part of visual rhythms that exist in these pieces that tells us where to look. And that's what creates comfort. It's the mastery of rhythm in these pieces. Wait, so if it's natural for us to recognize patterns and rhythm, shouldn't recreating them be easy? There are these visual elements placed at the right place at the right time. Photographs and still life paintings capture a moment in nature that's constantly moving. They can spend hours positioning and waiting for a right moment to take a single picture. Have you seen the trend of what I see versus what I take? Yes, these stunning pictures uses elements that already exist in real life to bring focus to the main subject. And here's the interesting part. These photographers aren't inventing anything new. They're simply recognizing what's already there. The patterns, the light, the rhythms that guide our eyes without us even realizing it. And when we look at the finished photograph, we feel something. We're drawn in, as if the image was built for us. Now, this is where it gets exciting. As artists, we don't have to wait for the right moment. We're not bound by what we see and the world we live in. We have the ability to take what we're inspired by and bend it, to deliberately design and create wonder. Every element we see here are placed with intent. Even when things look chaotic, it has rhythm and it also exists in real life. We can create and design every element we can think of, but how do we use them effectively? How do some artworks feel instantly clear and powerful while others get lost in noise and detail? When I looked at these images, I realized they had something in common. It wasn't just the style or the subject matter, it was how they handled shapes and value. The whole image is a stage set up for the main subject. It's how you present your muse. Our brains love contrast. When everything is equally loud and noisy, we get confused, not knowing where to look. But when one element is different, our eyes lock onto it like a flame calling in the dark. Notice each of these paintings has areas that jumps from light to dark, back to light. Well, these artists creates contrast in the values with care, balancing what's in the light and dark, making use of the lighting and colors in the scene to bring clarity to their subjects. So values are the key thing when you start to learn rendering, and one of the fundamentals. It's part of handling and grouping them appropriately. Other times, the contrast in temperature sets the main subject apart from the surrounding area. The warm light against the cool shadows, and the reason being cool because of the blue sky. Warm tones on cool tones feel distant, calm, and receding. Artists like Guiz usually sets his ambient in a cool environment and creates that vibrant, warm light on his characters, making his mood and characters really pop. And the difference in shapes and sizes. If everything has the same size and shapes, it creates monotony. The big, medium, small shapes creates visual interest in focal areas that has more details and areas of rest, and also creating contrast between the negative and positive space. Next time when you stare at a painting or photograph, notice where you look at first and how your attention flows. Strong images and paintings often controls where we look, but there isn't arrows or instructions to tell us where to look. And yet, almost every time our gaze moves effortlessly across the image through a path. This isn't accidental. Great artworks communicates. Every element creates an invisible flow and rhythms hidden in an art piece. The placement of shapes, the tilt in the lines, the balance of light and shadow are intentionally composed by artists, using the intent to create directions with all the elements to keep your eyes moving across the image. Delving into this made me connect the dots between other mediums. Let's look at something we can see every day that leaves us a message. These posters are intended to be direct and tells us a message or give awareness. Instruction manuals with numbers that tells us what to do first. We read it from ascending numbers or the text that jumps out to us first, even something directly as arrows pointing to different sections. This can also be used on different topics, and especially in creating an illustration. So using the intention to create direction gives it that natural flow. So taking what I talked about and applying it to my recent piece. This is Magic in her Eldritch skin. It's built around visual clarity and flow. I planned the composition so that every element served the main focal point, putting her against dark background or a hallway with arcs. So I make sure her top half stood out in terms of values. The easiest place to create a direction to her face is her long hair in the wind. And I also made the decision to create that subsurface glow on her hair so that it really pops from the background. And then I added cool vibrant blues to catch her attention and letting your eyes flow down her form to the sword. So that's my thought process drawing Magic. Every decision works together to make her feel powerful and also have the intent to control your gaze, making sure there's a natural flow throughout the image. I created this piece with the intent to practice visual clarity and flow, making my understanding on composition click more. Honestly, before doing this, I was a little bit confused about composition, so I did some research and this was my takeaway. Mostly about making use of the visual elements that exist in the piece and making use of them to create flow to guide the eyes through the image. And I also tried it with this piece that originally started off with the rule of thirds and slowly building each element around the main character. So if you've enjoyed this breakdown and want to see more of my process, I do have this free on my Patreon. So consider supporting me on Patreon as well so that I can keep creating and sharing content like this. Do follow me on social media. I definitely post frequently there. Your support really means the world to me and it helps me keep pushing forward. So that's all and I'll see you guys in the next video.